1. I'm a night auditor. To become a true night auditor, you must get your rite of passage, the not safe for work call. In all seriousness, they suck, even after you've had a few laughs. I have 2 NSFW stories. The first one was September 2022. It was my first week of working without my trainer. I was taking over for him before his surgery. So even though I had been working for over 2 months already, I had never worked without him. It made my first NSFW call all the more terrifying. For context, I was a retail manager for 2 years. I had plenty of unsavory interactions with shoppers, most of them about my feet. I don't know what it is that's so appealing about them, but man, men would go absolutely bonkers over my feet. At least, I know I have a career on OnlyFans if I find myself in a bind. Well, I got a call that fateful night. When I answer, it's a man, and he is giggling. After we exchange some pleasantries, it begins.
Can I ask you a strange question?
Sure.
I'm sorry, it might be weird.
I sighed. Was he going to tell me he left something personal in his room? Go ahead.
If I was to pay you $10,000, could I smell your used shoes?
I slammed the phone down. Back in those days, I was a lot more spooked by this kind of stuff. I had to run to a window and check outside to see if someone was watching me. I was greeted by an empty parking lot. Nevertheless, I hid with a baseball bat in the back laundry room, crying my eyes out. The phone continued to ring for what seemed like forever, then all was quiet. The last time a man said something about my feet was the November before, and it was a terrible situation. He ended up getting eaten by dogs, but it still wasn't a fun time. Anyways, I called my mom and my partner to calm me down. Now the time has passed. I can't imagine it was anything but a joke on his end. But when I told my old co-workers about it, they chided me for refusing such a grand monetary offer, as if he was serious in paying me. The second story is why this post is marked NSFW. There I was, playing my humongous Sudoku puzzle book last month, when I got a call. I never get calls at night. The most calls I get are from the fax machine. When I picked up the phone, there was a man with an accent. He asked what the pricing of the rooms were. I had yet to run audit, so I asked him if he needed a room tonight or tomorrow night. That's when I knew something was up. He paused, sounding uncertain. Tell me both. That was an unusual answer. It kind of threw me off. I began to rattle off the rates that night, and explained how the rates of the next night were bound to change throughout the day. When I heard it, moaning, I couldn't believe my ears. This was definitely a new situation for me. I slammed the phone down, blood rushing to my face. There's just something horrific about hearing those unwanted noises. Just a few days ago, a man with a southern accent called and began prolonging conversation, but I knew what was up. The moment before someone tries to extend a conversation and listen to your voice, I find there's something nefarious brewing behind the sentences. I'm not here to carry along some small talk. I am here to play my Sudoku. 2. I work in a small hotel at a front desk. Most of the time, we do not have many customers who want a meal, so we don't have a full-time waiter. When we expect more than 20 people per meal, we call a waiter. When the waiter isn't around here, we also tend bar, wash and polish glassware, serve food, etc. The restaurant area is cleaned by anyone who does not have other work to do at that moment. In our working area behind the bar, we have a printed list of all the waiter's duties, including, but not limited to, washing and polishing all the glassware, cleaning and mopping the restaurant, cleaning the bar, taking out trash, etc. It's worth noting that waiters are paid per meal, not per hour, and when all the guests finish their meals, the waiter just has to finish his duties and he is free to go. Their wage per meal is bigger than my wage per whole night and 8-hour shift. Our regular waiter, Jim, isn't in town for a month, so 2 of his friends are coming in instead of him. Those people are a couple. Mike and Mia. They both came to work with Jim on a few occasions when we had a large group, so they are familiar with the bar and dining area and, of course, their duties. Jim has never complained about the work. He would always wash all the glasses and cups, and he always leaves the restaurant and the bar impeccably clean. But Mia and Mike obviously do mind doing their job properly. Last week I found a dozen dirty glasses and ashtrays when I arrived in my afternoon shift. Mia worked that morning and refused to wash those dishes because she didn't serve the dinner last evening, so it's not her job. I told my colleague about that, and she told me that Mike refused to clean the floor a couple of days ago, and that she already told our manager about that. Our manager probably spoke with them, because we saw them both cleaning the floor after their shifts, but they didn't seem too happy about that. This Tuesday, we had a group for dinner. They told us to expect them around 8 p.m. Mia came at 7 to set the tables. There was some delay, and when people didn't show up at 8:30, she tried to pick an argument with my colleagues.
Why are they late? Where are they? It's late. Can't you call them? Who's responsible for this? I am told that dinner will be served at 8 p.m. It's 8:30. I have other things to do. Whose fault is this?
A colleague of mine calmly explained that this is a hotel, not a jail, and that we can't call the guests to order them to show up immediately or else. But all of us were fed up with them at that point. The next day, Mike was doing the lunch and Mia the dinner. Mike warned us that he has some appointment at 4 p.m. and told us that Mia will finish the dishes and the cleaning before dinner. Okay, we don't care. Luckily, these guests arrived a little early, so he managed to finish almost everything, leaving only a few dirty glasses in the sink. He came to the front desk to take his money, and then gave me a bill and told me, "A soda beer to some moron." I look up and saw one of our regular guests sitting in the restaurant and drinking a beer. I mean, WTF. This guy's a really great guy. I can't imagine him doing anything that would provoke such a reaction. I almost lost my shit, but there were other guests in the reception area, so I just said, "Okay, see you tomorrow." Later that afternoon, I took a tray and picked up every single dirty glass, cup, pitcher, and ashtray I could find in the rooms and all around the hotel, and put them in and around the sink at the bar. There wasn't enough room in the sink. The look on her face when she saw all the dirty glassware was priceless, but she still had to wash and polish everything. We haven't seen them since then. I really hope that they will refuse to work when our manager calls them again. 3. So, we had a small gas leak at our property. I worked Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. I show up on Saturday. The night auditor says, "The fire alarm keeps sounding, but the alarm never sounds in the building." The fire panel shows the laundry room as the source. Okay, so maybe the utility room is just overheating. I prop open the utility room door so it'll cool down. About an hour into my shift, the fire alarm goes off, without the pre-alarm sounding. The utility room is the cause. I figure, it just got hot in there. I shut off the fire alarm. Fire dispatch calls, I tell them it was a false alarm, and that our utility room is simply overheating. This happens 4-ish more times, after which the fire dispatch calls again. At this point I think, something's not right. I go into the utility room just to make sure there isn't actually a fire, and pop a fan into the utility room to hopefully cool it down in there. Thankfully, the fire alarm stops for the rest of my shift. I finish my shift with some slightly annoyed guests about the fire alarm over and over. I apologize and say that our laundry room utility room was overheating, causing the fire alarms. Fast forward to Sunday morning. The Saturday night auditor says that the fire marshal showed up because something was very wrong with all of the alarms in such a small time frame. Turns out that the utility room was filling with natural gas. The fire marshal said, "You're basically turning your utility room into an explosive, and it's a miracle that it didn't explode." At this point, I'm thinking that our housekeepers should have smelt it and said something, but all the gas was collected in the utility room. The Saturday night evening shift said that during his shift, the hot water stopped working because the gas was shut off, obviously. The Saturday night auditor was on the phone with corporate and the property manager to figure out a compensation for the guests. Of course, there are some people who don't think that 25% off is acceptable compensation for no hot water. We call an affiliated property up the street to see if they have rooms for our guests that want a shower or to relocate. Some guests choose to go have the shower at the other property, others just get mad. Only one agreed to relocate. Departure time Sunday. Our laundry room is unusable because we have no hot water, so the boss lady sends all our housekeepers to the sister property to help with their housekeeping, and the rooms they set aside for our guests to use the showers. Some people are understanding of the situation and take the 25% off, happy to have had a bed. Others not so much. I can recall one guy saying that he will be all over social media talking trash about our property and how we didn't do enough to rectify the situation. He throws his room keys at me while yelling, "We will never stay here again." Sunday is busy and stressful, but nothing stupid, just justifiably annoyed guests. Our maintenance guy was there attempting to get the leak fixed. I have to put all of the departure rooms out of order because our housekeepers were up the street. Fortunately, we had enough vacant ready rooms for that night's arrivals. There were only like 3 or 4. Monday morning now. I show up at 7. I take half of the previous days out of order back in, bringing the total unclean rooms to about 50. Our maintenance guy and the plumber are there bright and early. The boss tells me to tell the housekeepers to do what they can and put what they can't out of order again. Also to not accept any walk-ins, just the arrivals that are already in the list for tonight. Currently there are about 20 rooms out of order because they didn't get cleaned. 100% of the phone calls are grievances about the previous weekend. I explained that our GM and property owner agreed that 25% was all that we can and are going to offer. Most people accept this. I am relieved to have the next 3 days off. One last small story. This guy departed Saturday before all the stupidity started. He calls on Monday and leaves with, "Why didn't I get my incidental fee back yet?" He's irate. I try to calm him down by saying, "Sir, the incidental fee usually takes up to 3 to 5 business days to finish processing." "Well, that isn't fast enough. I'm going to sue you." I think to myself, really? You're going to spend thousands on a lawyer and court fees over $20? I say to him that if the money hasn't released to his account by Thursday at the latest, to call us, and we will email his bank to release the funds. Basic stuff. But no, he is adamant on taking us to court. Over $20. P.S. Cold showers are better for your health anyway. 4. As you can probably guess, English is not the main language in the country I live. But we do receive a lot of foreigners, business-related mostly, so English is a must-have. Spanish is a good addition, but not mandatory for hospitality. And this guy just can't utter a single word in English to save his life. For my own privacy, I'll keep this vague. But let's just say this man has been working in hospitality for a long time and just can't speak English. He refuses to learn because he feels that he is old enough, and his life is somewhat settled, and that younger folks should go for that sort of thing, and not him. He phrased it a bit differently. Oh, but he also gets mad when people get PTO approved by the management and he doesn't. But he isn't willing to put in as many hours as we do. Breaking into, give an example, he literally raised his voice at the manager of the front desk for approving PTO for me on Saturday, but not doing the same for him even though he never asked for it. He said with all the words that since me and my coworker who speak English are more qualified for the job, that they should fire him and it wouldn't take a toll on him at all. Also, I'm being moved to night audit, and that is enough reason in his head to have my monthly Sunday removed. In my country, it's only mandatory to approve PTO for your employees 1 Sunday a month. And you all know how hospitality goes. And my Saturday break is also unfair, even though I worked Christmas Eve and day, and New Year's Eve and day. And also helped the restaurant with dinner for guests on New Year's, and literally started 2023 in the hotel. Fine, he did work both also, but we had 3 or 4 check-ins tops, and he didn't lift a finger to help with the dinner, instead leaving 2 girls to it. Fine. My coworker was supposed to have her Sunday break today with the manager of the front desk, but she didn't give it to her because she was afraid of what this specific coworker would think. She didn't need to complete that she was afraid he would berate her again. We all know the story at the front desk. It went from one person to another. He also does the most he cannot work, except when I'm around. Since we are admitted around the same time, he now seems like he's worried I'll get more notice than him, even though I already am, since he does nothing. The icing on the cake, he once tried to act arrogant to me and said coworker, because we had put in more hours than we were supposed to and were being released early. He did that. We gave him the cold shoulder and immediately changed his behavior. But it still pisses me off how he thinks he can handle his coworkers however he pleases, just because he's the only man at the front desk, as if that changes anything. Anyways, I think I just needed a place to vent, but if you have any opinions on how to handle him the way he deserves without being fired, don't let me stop you from sharing. 5. I worked part-time at a hotel while studying. The summer was always a pain in the ass, as the regular low-key business folks were replaced with stressed-out families. A lot of the times, the moms would make a stink in the reception area. Our rooms are small, but can fit 6 people max, but really tight, almost crammed. This one time, this mother, the mother of all Karens, came with her family of 5. She was angry from the moment she walked into the reception. When she finally got her turn to check in, all check-ins came at the same time, so there was a line. She was annoyed and irritated, even though I did my best to welcome them and greet them friendly. They got their key and went to their room. 10 minutes later, she came back and skipped ahead of the rest of the queue to complain about their room, which she said was way too small for 5 people. Even though it did have 5 beds. Her entire family came down. She harassed me for about 5 minutes, even after I politely explained to her that there were no more rooms. Finally, I caved and said, "Look, we're not supposed to do this, but if you want, I can give you the money for the room's cash, and you can find another hotel room." Finally, a smile from this bitch. I refunded her with cash from the register, and she went on their way. They had not used anything in the room, so I marked the room as available. 10 minutes later, another family reserved the room. About 30 minutes after Karen left, they came back. She was even more stressed. "There are no hotel rooms available in the entire town. We have no choice but to take your room," she said. "Oh, I'm sorry, I just sold the room," I told her, "but I'd be happy to find you a hotel room in X or Y, neighboring cities, both 40 to 45 minutes away." This really set her off. "We're going to the zoo." Local attraction, very popular. "Driving 45 minutes each way is going to ruin our entire day." "I know, you told me, but to be fair, you did have a room here. It's always like this during the summer. All hotels are booked solid." "So you knew this?" She was so angry she was almost spitting. "Yeah, of course, there could be cancellations at some hotels, but it is not likely during the summer. But hey, enjoy the zoo at your new hotel," I triumphantly said. She stomped off, and her husband gave her the angriest look I've ever seen. He looked so pissed at her for complaining. Hey everybody, Hellfreezer here, and thank you very much for listening to Coahw, episode 105. And thank you very much to everybody who allowed me to use their stories in this video. Please do press the like button and share the video with friends and family members before you go. Thank you kindly. Okay, let's see. I have no idea what day this video goes up. I'm recording them all at the start of the week so I can take the week off. I need to rest. But it's a day of the week, and we know that much, so I'm going to say that with certainty. Now, I don't think there's any special business today, so let's move right along to Hellfreezer's question of the day. And today's question is, what is something that is cute when small, but horrifying if it was giant? Like cats. Cats are adorable, okay? Some people don't like them, that's fair enough. I think they're kind of adorable. However, Think of a cat the size of a person or the size of a building. I mean, that would be scary anyway, and suddenly becomes a fearsome, powerful creature. If you have a better example, please leave your answers in a comment below. And with that, I'm going to head off for now. So until next time, thank you very much for listening, and take very good care of yourself.